everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to make some soft apple stuffed cookies that are so delicious. We're also gonna spice them up with a little bit of cinnamon that I think goes so well with apples. So in Italy we have a popular pastry brand that makes this type of cookies and they have called them apple hearts, and I think this name suits them perfectly. So let's make some apple hearts. Begin with some cold butter, sugar, and some fragrant lemon zest, possibly organic if you can. Add in the all-purpose flour and the baking powder and give everything a good mix and mash up the butter with your hands. This step is called sanding, and it's basically combining the dry ingredients with the butter until you reach a sandy mixture. Then I beat an egg with a pinch of salt that will enhance the flavor, and I pour it in the sandy mixture. I mix it in just like this until it gets absorbed evenly. Then I place the dough in the counter and I compact it together. You don't need to knead the dough for long, actually the less the better, but just enough time to compact the dough and flatten it out a bit so that it cools down faster. Cover it in saran wrap and let it sit in the fridge for a minimum of 45 minutes. You could also leave it in the fridge overnight. Meanwhile, I chop up the apples in small cubes. I cut it in half, I take out the core, and then I dice it up just like this. This is kind of the size you want them to be. I cook the apples with a little bit of butter and a quarter teaspoon of cinnamon. I let the butter melt for a few minutes and then I put the lid on to create a bit of moisture and avoid that the apples dry out too much. Every once in a while, give it a quick stir. I also added a tablespoon of honey to give it an extra touch of sweetness, but you could also use maple syrup or simply sugar. You need to cook the apples for a total of about 10 minutes. They need to be a little bit soft. Then take them off the burner, and if you want, you can use a hand mixer to mash up some of the apples so that the filling will be a little bit creamier. I set the apple stuffing aside and now I'm ready to flatten out the dough with a rolling pin. Make sure that you slightly flour the counter and the rolling pin too. I turn it to make sure it's not sticking on the counter, and I keep rolling it out until I get a thin layer of dough. Here's one way to make these cookies. Cut out the shapes with a 2 1/4 inch cookie cutter or the edge of a small glass and pull away the extra dough and set it aside. Then put a generous teaspoon of apple stuffing in part of the dough and close it up just like this. Make sure you seal the edges well because we don't want any of the apple stuffing coming out while it's cooking. And here it is. Now I'll use the extra dough to show you also another way to make these cookies. A little bit of flour, flatten it out, and divide the dough in two. In one half, add the apple filling, and use the other half of the dough to cover it. Press well all around the stuffing, and then use the cookie cutter to get the cookies. This method is the same used to make ravioli, but it works for these cookies too, and I think it's also a little bit faster than the previous one. Once you're done making the cookies, now you can bake them in a preheated oven at 350 Fahrenheit for about 15-20 minutes. So once the cookies come out of the oven, you'll notice that they're crunchy. So I suggest to poke them a little bit with a toothpick and then let them cool down completely. After that, store them in a sealed container, and you'll notice that after a little bit, a couple of hours or so, the cookies have turned soft and they're so good. And this is the result. Let's taste them. I love them. So what do you think of these apple stuffed cookies? I hope you're gonna give them a try and let me know in the comments below what you think, and please leave a thumbs up if you actually like this video, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for new weekly recipes. Bye guys!